our first responsibility as pastors, preachers of the gospel is to preach Christ and him crucified. All right. Now, in saying that, there are many who use that as a cop-out to not address what's taking place in the world, right? But I don't think that's the case. I think that we preach the gospel, but in preaching the gospel, we don't always have to be so reactive to everything that's happening. Because if you stay the course of the gospel always, you'd have to know how to or be intentional about overlooking the stories behind the gospel to not address what's taking place in culture. But I think that we have to be careful not to be so reactive to everything, because at that point, you're almost never giving the people what they truly need. But when you look at, you have to know who you serve. And you have to know, and this is where pastorally knowing your people. One of my old mentors used to say it like this: a shepherd must smell like sheep. And so you have to know your people. You have to know their fears. You have to know their anxieties. You have to know what they're watching, what they're listening to, and what social media is feeding them. And so that requires a lot of conversations. And so you are not reacting to every movement within culture, but you're definitely responding to the immediate fears and anxieties that are taking place within your congregation. But then there's this other level where there are some things that people need to know. So like, for instance, in the Black community, the movements of ICE isn't something that is terrorizing us at the moment, right? And so we could easily be like, hey, this isn't our fight, which I've heard some say. But from my position, we know what it means to live in a society and in a world that judges you based upon your ethnicity and the color of your skin. So there's something to be said about what's happening in the current state of things that we can be familiar with. And so our posture right now, what I try to teach our people is, now it's time to be a good neighbor. This is what this looks like. How do we love our neighbors who are living in fear? And in our community, we've got a growing Hispanic and Latinx population within our community. So how do we now be a good neighbor to those who are at home in fear about what's taking place in culture? And so it's understanding your immediate context, but it's also making sure that we don't get comfortable where we are, that we show them that although there may be some things that don't directly impact us, but we've got to make sure that we are doing a good job of being a good neighbor at those times. And what does it look like? And so I think, old school, you remember this, in seminary, Bible college, they told you back in the day, you got to have a Bible in a newspaper. Well, now you've got to have a Bible, you got to have social media. And maybe a newspaper on occasion, and so that you can have the relationships that's necessary to be able to speak well and intelligently to what's taking place within your community.